huge puppy topic that we can't stress enough for all the clients that we work with that have puppies or anybody that brings a new little crazy into their house is handling and restraint work. So this isn't necessarily training in regards to like teaching the dog behaviors, like sitting down, coming when called, but it's probably one of the most valuable things that we teach people and that we try to get people to do with a young dog. You can do it with older dogs as well, but it's not as easy once this little bundle gets to be 70 plus pounds and he decides he doesn't want to do something you're trying to do with him. So when we do handling and restraint work, it helps to prepare the dog to be compliant and calm and comfortable and relaxed with being held, restrained, put in different positions, and touched all over their body on a regular basis until it becomes something very easy for you and for them. And it plays into a lot of things that they're going to have to deal with throughout their lifetime. So you've got vet visits, if you have a dog that you're going to send to the groomers, if something happens where you have to examine them and touch them all over, a dog, or even doing their nails, a dog who's extremely sensitive, fidgety, and throws hissy fits or actually becomes defensive about those things is going to have a lot harder time throughout life, and so are you and anybody that goes to work with them. So we'll see if we can get some of the behaviors that we've seen with Gunner on video, where he just doesn't want to be held and sit still, and that's going to be extremely important because if he goes to the vets or if we go to do his nails and he's practicing being fidgety and throwing puppy hissy fits now, what that can develop into is some serious handling aggression or issues at the vets or not even allowing himself to be brushed or have his nails clipped. And it all starts with what we call puppy hissy fits, where if I go to hold on to him and have him hold still and he goes, I don't want to, you can't make me. It's nothing that's hurting him, but the way we work through that on a regular basis, and we do this every day, is going to determine how he handles situations he's going to be put in through the rest of his life and as he gets bigger. So if this little guy who's 20, 30 pounds or something along those lines throws a little hissy fit and tries to squirm away from me and tries to nibble on my hand saying, I don't want you to hold me. It's a lot better to work through that when they're this size versus when he's full grown. And that's the issues that we see a lot of adult dogs come to us for training for, is they didn't get enough of this handling and restraint work when they were little, and what it develops into is an adult dog who's very confident in being able to tell you off and not comfortable being handled, and then you've got a full-grown dog with a full set of teeth and a lot of determination, versus a puppy who can learn to accept it a lot easier. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of hold him over his shoulders and hold his collar. So a lot of times with young puppies I see collar holding be an issue. So I mess with their collar all the time. I'll put my fingers in it, I'll wiggle it, I'll tug on it a little bit, and if he's really good I can pet him as a reward, or if I wanted to I could offer him a little bit of food. And even that for him is actually a lot of improvement because we've been working on this a little bit. Or before he would try to like play with my hands and wiggle away and do all sorts of things. So with the food, you can use food if you want to, but you don't have to necessarily. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to his collar from here, and then I'm just going to kind of hug his abdominal area here and see if he wiggles around. So it doesn't really matter where he places his feet, but what I'm going to do is squeeze him a little bit. Kind of as if I were going to hold him for something, whether somebody were going to do his nails, or I had to restrain him, maybe he got outside off of his leash, or maybe the vet was doing an examination and we had to hold him still for it. Good boy. Break. Good job, buddy. And I should have videoed the first time we did that because he was flailing all over the place, whining, trying to bite at my hands, and I didn't actually have any food the first time we did this. I just worked through it until he calmed down, and then I released him. And he went, oh, one, it doesn't hurt. You're not going to quit because I'm throwing a puppy hissy fit. And if I calm down, then I can stop doing it. Good boy, yeah. So I'm going to do it on both sides. That's really important. Give him a little squeeze. Good boy. Good. Break. And the important thing when I do these types of exercises is it's calm. I don't want to, this isn't petting and this isn't affection. This is serious business. Like when we go to the vet's office, or if he had a cut on his paw and I had to look at it, I want him to be really relaxed and calm about it. So other things you can do is pick up and hold one of their legs. So see how he's trying to chew? No. Good. No. Good. No. Good. I'm just going to use his collar to make sure he doesn't back up. So see the mouthing at me? No. No. And if he nibbles on my fingers, I do a little bit of pushing down on their tongue, just to discourage it. Good boy. Break. So I waited until he, and I'm fine if he's a little bit like, I don't really like that. He can lick at my hand a little bit, but what I don't want is for him to go chewing at me. So we'll do that one again. Good. Good boy. Break. And then remember, do both sides. Now we're going to do the other leg. So he's trying to chew on me a little bit. No. 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 Now he's just itching his leg. Good boy. Break. Good job, buddy. Other things that I might do is pick up different portions of his body. So like I started with the restraint stuff, now I might lift his front end up. Good boy. Break. Because let's say I need to help him get up onto a table at the vet's office, or he hurts himself and he needs help getting in and out of the car or up and down stairs. I don't want him to be sensitive about me lifting him. So we'll do that again. And I'll just brace right here so he doesn't pop forward. Good boy. Break. Good job, buddy. And then same thing, do it both sides. So see how, there we go. See how now he's like, no, I don't wanna. Just gonna turn him around. Good. And then I'll lift him from this side. Good boy. Good job, buddy. Break. And I also like to lift the back end and then the whole dog, especially when they're this size. It gets very difficult when they're bigger if they decide they want to struggle. So I'll just grip under here and I'll just slightly lift his back end. Good boy. Break. We'll do that one again. Come on. I know this is not your favorite game. Buddy. And at first it's going to be really short durations. Doesn't have to be for 5 minutes at a time that I lift him up and he holds still there. No. So he tried to be a little mouthy there. Good boy. Break. Yes. We'll do that side one more time. Good, yeah. I know. You just want to go play. Bring him a little closer. I'm going to lift his back end. Good boy. Break. And then the big one is, if I ever had to lift him up all the way, is making sure you can lift the whole body. So I'm going to brace his chest or even underneath here, and then I'll just tuck under his back legs and lift. Good boy. No. Break. So see how he immediately wanted to chew on me? That we want to start to desensitize him to, so he just accepts it and he doesn't try to do that stuff. We'll do that one again. No. Good boy. No. Good. Job, buddy. And remember, guys, both sides. So I'm going to switch him to this side and do the same thing. And make sure that you're supporting them appropriately. No. Good boy. Break. Because if you're lifting them from somewhere that's really, really uncomfortable, then it's not necessarily fair to them, and I wouldn't expect them to tolerate that. Do it one more time, buddy. So I'm making sure I have a lot of support on his chest, not on his neck. And then I'm just tucking his back legs a little. Good boy. Break. Yes. Good job, buddy. Other things that you can do is messing with their face, like I did before, the legs and the paws, the tail and the hindquarters, and just little simple things. So I'm going to have his collar so he holds still, and I might do something like check his eyes, because the vet's going to have to do that to make sure that nothing's wrong. Break. Good boy. I can do the same thing with the ears and the teeth. So I might look into his ears. Good boy. Good boy. Break. And then the teeth. I might just pull his lips up a little. Good boy. Break. You've got to start practicing this stuff when they're little, especially if you have a new puppy. Then I could also mess with his tail. So I'll hold his flat collar from over here, and I'm just going to see how he immediately tucks under. He's like, no, 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 that's a sensitive area. So I'm just going to stand him back up. Good boy. I've still got his flat collar, and I'm just touching the tail. Good. Good boy. Break. So he's probably a dog who would start to have a lot of sensitivity issues with his hind end if we don't keep practicing this. And when the vet goes to try and take his temperature, if he were older and we didn't work on this stuff while he's little, he's going to be the type of dog who might snap around and be like, whoa, don't touch me back there. Here, bud, we'll do that one more time. And usually if I'm holding them in this position, I'm putting my thumb through their flat collar and just bracing their shoulder to me. So he can't really move around very much. Good boy. Good job. Good boy. Break. Yes. Good boy. Good job, buddy. Other things which help with a lot of the obedience and leash pressure shaping that we've done is putting them in different positions. So I might put him in an SIT position, I might put him in a DOWN position, and just make sure that he's tolerant of it. So I'll see if I can get him to DOWN. We haven't shaped it too much just yet. I'm just going to use leash pressure at first. No, there's nothing in my hand. So there he goes. And then I'm just going to pet him in this position. Make sure he stays there. Good boy. Good. Good job, buddy. I'll take this, and because he's a little bit newer with the DOWN, he's not as fluent in going into that position, I'm going to take this and I'm going to do different variations of him being put into awkward positions. So a lot of dogs will struggle initially with going into a down. They just don't know how, or they're not comfortable with it. I'm going to take that position and then I'll move it to, I'm going to ask you to lay on either side. I'm going to touch your stomach, I'm going to touch your legs, I'm going to touch your head and your tail while you're laying down, not just standing up. I'm going to do both sides, and then I might even put him over on his back and muck with his belly a little bit and make sure that he's accepting of that. So I'm going to lay him on his side. He's probably going to have a little, yep, he's trying to nibble on me. No. Good. Good job, buddy. And we have a post from a while ago where one of our dogs hurt their paw, and being able to ask him to lay on his side and hold still, I was able to very easily treat his paw and check how his injury was healing. Good. Good boy. Yes. So we'll do the same thing again. I'm going to try and see if I can get him to switch sides. So leash pressure, just waiting to see if he'll DOWN. And now I have him on the opposite side. Good boy. And shoulder or his neck, a little bit of his stomach, but then eventually I'm going to start touching all of his body parts. Good job, buddy. Let's go. You're flopping out of camera view. Yeah. So I'll do that again. Come here, bud. And this really also helps to promote calm interaction and handling. So when he first got here, he was really bouncy and springy and mouthy, and he wanted to interact with you like another puppy instead of with calm, controlled, respectful behavior. So I'll have him lay on his side again. And then from here, what I might do is start to then rub and touch down his hindquarters and his legs, and just discourage if he tries to chew on me. Good boy. Touching his tail. Good boy. Break. Yes. And I'm fine if he doesn't get all the way up when I'm saying break. I'm just using that because he's starting to figure out what that word means as an end cue to say, hey, you did a really nice job there. I'm going to give you something. So I'll lay him back again. And what this is also teaching him is to yield to pressure. So just like we do with the leash training, no. He's learning that if I push on his shoulder, to just, no. Give into that pressure and just yield and roll onto his side so I can keep doing this stuff to him. Good boy. No. Good. Good boy. Break. Good job, buddy. So in doing this and just adding something extra to the puppy lesson, a big thing I warn people about is don't play with them with your hands and your feet, because then they start to, when you do things like this, mouth at your hands. I try to always play with puppies with toys. I don't like to do this kind of stuff and tease them and have them go after my hands, because then it becomes a bad habit, and when they start doing it to other people or they start getting bigger, you're like, oh, he's so mouthy and he nips and nibbles at us. And you might not even realize that you were playing with him like that when he was little, but as he gets older, it's not so much fun. So another thing that I'm going to do with him, come here, buddy, is I'm going to lay him on his back as well, which might get us another puppy hissy fit, because we haven't done that one yet. So I'm using leash pressure right now. I'm just waiting until he goes DOWN. And what I'm going to do is use what we've been doing, which is yielding to pressure and having him roll. Good boy. And then I'll take it a step further, and I'm going to hug him between my legs. Good. No. You can see he's trying to chew on my hands. I can rub his belly. I can pet him. I'm fine with him looking at me, but no. He's not allowed to chew on me. No. Good. No. Good. And it's all very calm. Good boy. Good. See how when I add the food, he gets a little bit excited? That's one of the reasons that sometimes I don't do this stuff with food. The release and then ending the exercise sometimes in and of itself is enough of a reward. Is that a good spot? An itchy spot? Good boy. Very good. And then I'll just grip his shoulders and kind of encourage him out from that position. Good boy. There's another one. Good job, buddy. Well, in doing these exercises, what I want to see is if I guide him into a position that he doesn't do this kind of stuff. Let's go. Good. If I have to touch and maneuver different parts of his body, he's not nervous about it, he's not feisty about it, he's just accepting of it, and it's easy for us to do. So it's got to become a practiced and learned thing. Good job, buddy. No, not chewing on the leash. Good. But if we can get more people to do this stuff with young puppies, we're going to have less behavior issues with dogs being handled, brushed, getting their nails done, going to the vets and the groomers. Because this is going to be proactive in teaching them to accept and be cooperative for handling, and not waiting until they're older and avoiding these things where when I first started doing this with him, he was fidgeting and fighting, and he was like, "Wah, wah, wah, wah," and trying to bite at my hands. And I just waited him out, and as soon as he stopped, then I let him go. And he figured it out within like 30 seconds. But if I had quit when he threw that hissy fit, I would be teaching him that when I go to restrain you and hold you and touch you and do different things with you, you can deter me from that by acting out. And it gets worse and worse and worse the older they get and the bigger they get.